This is Red Carpet Fly's News on the Fly, bringing you daily unique and interesting entertainment, celebrity, and luxury news. Before we get started, you guys know what to do. Like, follow, and subscribe to Red Carpet Fly and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single News on the Fly episode. Okay, let's get into it. Eva Longoria is ready to return for a Desperate Housewives reboot. According to a Screen Rant report, Eva Longoria says she is ready to return for a Desperate Housewives reboot. Desperate Housewives is a comedy drama mystery series created by showrunner Mark Cherry. The series ran for 8 seasons, premiering on ABC in 2004. Throughout its run, Desperate Housewives garnished praise from both critics and viewers, and the series won multiple awards, including 2 Golden Globes for Best Series, Musical or Comedy. The Desperate Housewives series finale aired in 2012. Desperate Housewives focused on the lives of 4 women living on suburban Wisteria Lane as told by their deceased friend after her suicide. Brenda Strong narrated the story as the late Mary Alice Young, and Eva Longoria, Terry Hatcher, Felicity Huffman, and Marcia Cross starred as Gabrielle Solis, Susan Meyer, Lynette Scavo, and Brie Vandekamp. Mary's friends must solve the mysteries behind her death while facing their own secrets hidden in their suburban lives. Almost 10 years after Desperate Housewives finale aired, Longoria responded to questions about a reboot. While appearing on Fox 5 New York, Longoria was asked whether there could be a Desperate Housewives reboot in the future, and she seemed eager for one. Longoria stated that while she would be the first in line to join a reboot, however, the show's return was unlikely because Mark Cherry was finished exploring its characters. She then added jokingly, "Plus, I'm 100 years old, so I don't know if anybody cares." Desperate Housewives was one of the most successful television series of its time, with several reviews comparing the show to a soap opera mixed with the mystery of the critically acclaimed Twin Peaks. Considering Desperate Housewives' level of success, it's no mystery why questions of a reboot have been circling. In a time where every show from Sex and the City to The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is being rebooted or revived decades later, Desperate Housewives appears to be a perfect next candidate. Still, Longoria's words make the possibility of a Desperate Housewives return increasingly unlikely. Although creator Mark Cherry has cautiously considered a reboot in the past under limiting conditions, Longoria's co-stars Marcia Cross and Terry Hatcher rejected the idea outright. Cross cited the same words from Cherry as Longoria, and taken together with Longoria's own statement, Desperate Housewives will not be making a comeback anytime soon. You know, I think it's best that the show isn't rebooted. It was good during its time, but I don't know if it resonates now. We have Bravo's Real Housewives franchise that kind of fills that void, and the ladies on the show aren't even real housewives. They don't do any kind of housework or anything that you would think a housewife should do. They're actually like entrepreneurs that happen to be married, and not even all of the women on those shows are married. I could be wrong, but I don't think this show would fare well in this new environment. Did you guys watch Desperate Housewives back then? Are there any Desperate Housewife fans out there? Let me know. Comment below and let me know if you're interested in seeing a reboot of the show. To be honest, I'm a little bit over reboots. While reboots are good, I think the novelty has worn off. Twitter sounds off after Draya Michele asked suspicious questions about SBA loans. Social media users were quick to gather Draya Michele last week after former Basketball Wives star asked her Twitter followers questions about small business loans. According to Madame Noir, Michele tweeted out on March 17th, "Hey, I got a question for my little scammy scammers, LOL. If you get an SBA loan and it's under a business name, what are the steps to paying it back? And if it's under a business name and you go into default, does it go under your personal credit?" Twitter users joked about how Draya's question could result in the Small Business Administration keeping an extra eye on the Mint Swim founder. SBA didn't even have to stretch for this one. One user penned in Draya's replies, "I worked for the SBA for 3 years. With a question like this, you are giving them every reason to look at you, and they will," another highlighted. Another user said, "Miss Ma'am, going forward, these are questions you ask a lawyer, not Twitter." Draya responded, "I didn't want a technical answer. I wanted a straight up one." Others threw shade and even joked about how the SBA has Draya's 1 bed, 1 bath in a gated community, aka prison cell, ready for the former reality star's arrival. Even though Draya's tweet was questionable, none of us know what's really going on with her business or bank accounts. Still, it's probably best if she takes some advice thrown her way and keep any other questions she has about SBA loans between her and her lawyer. I don't know what Draya was thinking when she tweeted this out. With all the PPP loan frauds people are getting busted for, and these people are serving real time too, not just a little bit of time. Draya better watch out before she finds herself in a situation. And I would hate that because I like Draya. I met her in my early red carpet fly career, and she was very kind and very sweet and let me interview her, even though I was very new to the red carpet game. Girl, I do not play with the government or these PPP loans or SBA loans. They are really out here giving people like 11 years in prison if they find out you committed fraud. Draya is way too cute to end up behind bars. Private jets are stealthily flying humanitarian aid to Ukraine. As the war in Ukraine moves into its fifth week, business jet owners and private aviation companies are supplying some aircraft to deliver supplies and provide refugees with transport. Several are doing it openly, but most are flying under a veil of secrecy because of the war conditions, reports the Rob Report. Russia's February 24th invasion has displaced 1 in 5 Ukrainians, according to the United Nations, prompting more than 3 million to flee the country. It has also caused a dire need for supplies, doctors, and transportation to reach the conflict zone, while many refugees are being transported to other parts of Europe. But as the conflict intensifies, these humanitarian airlifts entail scores of logistical challenges, including the closure of airspace over Ukraine and Russia, as well as bordering nations of Moldova and Belarus. The situation is fluid and even dangerous at this moment, so it's a uniquely complicated humanitarian question, Dan Hubbard, spokesperson of the National Business Aviation Association in Washington, D.C., told Rob Report. Hubbard added, "It's difficult to estimate how many humanitarian flights are traveling to the region, but said that there are likely a large number of missions than usual being conducted in total confidence given the security concern." One analyst in private aviation told Rob Report that authorities in the country bordering Ukraine have asked his company not to reveal anything about military or humanitarian aid. The analyst, asking to remain anonymous, said there are thousands of active accounts fishing for information to identify supply sources and channels for humanitarian and military aid. Several, however, have gone on the record about their aid missions. UK-based Titan Airways said that it recently transported 21 Ukrainian children with cancer from Szczecin, Poland to Birmingham, England for treatment. The private charter group donated its Airbus A321 to carry the children, their families, and a team from Britain's National Healthcare Service. Bombardier announced that it had donated $150,000 to the Canadian Red Cross for work on the Ukraine conflict. It also said that it had suspended all activities with Russian clients, including all forms of technical assistance. Houston-based Universal Weather and Aviation, which provides logistical support to business aircraft operators, is helping private aircraft owners and humanitarian groups coordinate flights to deliver relief supplies. The first flight request came in several days after the conflict broke out, and we've steadily seen more come in as international media has focused on the growing humanitarian crisis and flood of refugees. Pete Lewis, a senior vice president at Universal, told Rob Report. The company is waiving its fees on service and ground handling setup for any mission classified as a humanitarian supply flight. But there are many challenges, including navigating the region's evolving airspace restrictions, trade sanctions, supply chains, and COVID protocols. Humanitarian flights in the COVID era are infinitely more complex than they were before the pandemic due to additional layers of restrictions, Lewis said. Added to these challenges is the closeness of a major conflict, which is fluid and extremely unpredictable. It is not an easy thing to fly an aircraft halfway around the world, get all the government approvals needed, and have a place to land with a crew ready to move supplies to a truck and the people in need within a 48-hour period, he added. Avoiding Russian airspace is a pretty big deal for U.S. registered aircrafts that have to completely fly around Russia and make an extra stop to refuel, then proceed to Poland or Romania. Universal is helping the Solitary Foundation, a nonprofit health advocacy group based in Milan, coordinate flights of pediatric cancer patients and their families to Italy, where they can receive treatment from specialized health personnel from nearby hospitals. The Solitary Foundation declined to give more details. Direct Relief, a U.S.-based nonprofit that specializes in medical transport, has delivered 52 tons of medical supplies or 200 pallets to Poland for Ukraine relief. It has been a completely different scenario since the war began. Tony Moraine, Vice President of Marketing, told Rob Report, "Our entire organization is focused on this. The response from medical manufacturers around the world have been astounding compared to some other major disasters we've seen. The organization has used commercial cargo transporters as opposed to private aircrafts to airlift supplies." Moraine says that disasters like Hurricane Matthew in the Bahamas prompted dozens of private aircraft owners to donate time and aircraft. But this is a war and not a disaster, he says. "I could definitely see, depending on the future, using private aircraft for intra-European travel." The UK publication Corporate Jet Investor has set up a website, businessaviationukraine.org, to carry news of private aviation's humanitarian aid efforts and also serve as a conduit between aircraft owners and relief organizations. The website, which will go live later this week, will have two goals. It will get everyone donating, and people who want to fly will have ways to communicate, Alistair White, the magazine's publisher, told the Rob Report. Airbus, Boeing, and Bombardier have stopped supplying Russian airlines with parts, maintenance, and support services. Other airlines have cut ties with Russia. American, Delta, United, and Alaska Airlines are suspending partnerships with Russian airlines, including juggernaut Aeroflot. Russia has responded by seizing more than 500 commercial and private aircrafts owned by non-Russian leasing firms. I really love seeing everyone coming together to help the Ukrainians. They need help, and people are coming up with creative ways to get them the help they so desperately seek and need. I wish this was the response anytime there was a disaster or war. I feel like so many countries could have benefited from this type of response, but instead they were met with a lot of resistance, zero funding for humanitarian aid, and left basically fending for themselves. Bethany Frankel, former housewives on Bravo's Real Housewives of New York, is always responding to disasters and providing humanitarian aid through her nonprofit, Be Strong. And let me tell you, she's really good at rallying the troops and getting supplies to the people who really need it. I have really been impressed with her philanthropy because she is just not signing checks, which is nice, but she's actually in the trenches working to help people out in these devastating circumstances. I'm glad people are stepping up to help the Ukrainians. They did nothing to deserve this war that Putin is throwing on them. Sending prayers to the Ukrainian people, and if you want to help with sending humanitarian aid to the Ukrainian people, please check out Bethany's site, bethany.com/be strong. There's a donation button right on the homepage, and you can just click it to give. Well, that's it for Red Carpet Fly's News on the Fly. Please like, follow, subscribe, and share our YouTube channel, Red Carpet Fly, and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Red Carpet Fly. And until tomorrow, always stay fly.